Hey, I'm a little early, but I'm here. So yeah, I am pretty much just doing this to start the live stream. What's this button do? Share. Okay, I'm gonna share on Facebook quick. I'm live now. Come listen to me talk and make myself sound stupid sometimes. And post to Facebook. All right, I am live. So I'm just going to start talking. And actually, you know what? Before this happens, I'm going to go get my hot dogs that I just cooked. I will try to talk. If anyone joins, I'm going to be right back. Well, nobody joined. Surprise, surprise. I literally just got done cooking said hot dogs. I don't know. Should I keep doing these for anyone that actually watches this live stream after it becomes just a regular video? Would you continue doing these live streams, or would you like me to continue doing these live streams? I guess I'm trying to ask. Because I want to keep doing these. So what do I talk about? Well, I've got a small list of stuff I wanted to talk about. I want to start talking about it once people start, coming in. Once people start watching, I want to start talking about this stuff. So. Until then, I'm going to do a little research on my topics and try to talk about this stuff. TripAdvisor's got let's see here. It says somebody lives in the area and has been there a few times, and they can honestly say that they will never return. Not because of the food or anything like that. Them and a close friend of theirs were setting up for a wedding reception in the basement part room area down the stairs where Mrs. Jackson has been noted to have been seen. If you don't know, Mrs. Jackson is the ghost who haunts this place. I was not a believer, he says. This person was not a believer until they experienced firsthand the red-haired woman out of the corner of his eye. And when he turned, she was gone. Took the pictures off the wall, set up for the reception, and returned upstairs for a few minutes. When they came back downstairs, everything was in a different place. Pictures were back on the walls. We asked the manager if anyone had been down there. Said no, it remained blocked off. Took the pictures down, placed them in the closet on the right side, laying them on the floor. After he shut the door, he heard movement in the closet. After he mustered the courage to open the door, the receiver that was in there had been suddenly turned on with nothing but fuzz, and the pictures had been moved slightly. Has not returned since and never plans to. Okay. That actually sounds interesting. I supposed. TripAdvisor review. Alright. Let's find any more information about it. I'm going to check their website. Billy's Bar and Grill. Make a reservation in our private dining areas, banquets, parties, meetings. Now serving breakfast. Serving full breakfast menu, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Monday through Friday. Saturdays, 8 to 2 p.m. They're open Monday through Saturday until 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 a.m. to midnight. Featuring Sunday brunch, all you can eat, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I think this used to be the whatchamacallit, haunted hotel, I think. Oh, they deliver on DoorDash. Here we go. Haunted dining at Billy's in Anoka. Haunted dining at Billy's in Anoka, the tale of the spooky Scrod. It was a Friday night, and the writer of this article, Susie Piper, was ready for some spooky thrills and ghoulish grubs, so we did what anyone would want. And there were a few in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. for Pose and Cuzzies, to name a couple. But we wanted an adventure, so we chose Anoka, the self-proclaimed capital of Halloween and all things scarifying. The haunted establishment we set to was Billy's, a popcorn-littered sports bar stuffed into an old Victorian hotel. That is it, which was once a scarifyingly scandalous brothel. All right. So looks like this is what I was thinking of. Started out as a hotel and brothel in Anoka. And the story that I heard about it is that back when it was the hotel, this mobster or gangster, whatever, in the 20s, 1920s, so about 100 years ago, maybe 90 years ago, give or take, gets three hookers from Minneapolis, right? Gets three hookers from Minneapolis, and then it's a blonde, a brunette, three people, right? He invites all three of them over at the same time. The redhead is the only one that doesn't leave in the morning. Nobody ever found her body. And she's supposed to be haunting that place. Apparently, the redhead that was killed there is named Mrs. Jackson. So I just think that's interesting. Let's see here. Next, so that was Billy's Bar and Grill in Anoka. Let's see here. Why visiting the abandoned Anoka State Hospital? Here we go. City Pages, which is a local, for those of you who don't live in the Minneapolis area, it's a local newspaper. Visiting the abandoned Anoka, Minnesota's most haunted spot is a bad idea. Written Wednesday, 18th, 2016, by Corey Zarowski in the news section of the City Pages website. Um, and the first couple lines on here in this news article say, the title, Anoka's title as the Halloween capital of the world needs amending. It's more like Minnesota's haunted capital. Let's see, the state hospital, it says here, once housed as many as 1,000 people suffering from various mental illnesses. The grounds situated just are arguably the state's unsettled piece of real estate. Anoka facility forged its reputation in suffering over 99 years. In March 1900, the Anoka Asylum received its first 100 male patients. 6 years later, 115 women arrived. So in the first 6 years, 215 people. Over the next 90 plus years, it would house thousands of people. In 1960, nearly 11,000 wards of the state lived there. That's in 1960. 11, wait, did I say 11,000? 1,100 people lived there. Leather restraints, straitjackets, and baby cribs that resembled cages were standard issue. So was torture in the form of electroshock therapy and other medieval treatments. The state finally shuttered the facility in 1999, while the boarded up cottages, in quotes, residents lived in still remain. It's what's below that lives on as a peculiar fascination. A network of tunnels exists beneath the grounds. The cement hallways were once used to transport patients from one place to another without requiring staff to move them out in the open. It is also said that untold the tunnels only to hang themselves when they realized finding their way out was futile. The tunnels house poorly guarded secrets. The tunnels house poorly guarded. Oh yeah, took me a second there. So basically, it says there's poorly guarded secrets. Although pursuing them is illegal, first-person accounts exist online. Urban explorers and ghost hunters report fingernail marks etched in walls and the word "no" repeatedly scribbled as well. Others say there are old wheelchairs, restraint apparatus, and what looks like torture devices in rooms abutting the tunnels. Thrill seekers and the curious routinely ask Ross Beard, owner of Anoka Paranormal Investigations, to bring them to the old asylum or the Anoka State Hospital Cemetery, where approximately 400 patients are buried in simple graves. I tell them to stay the hell out of there, Beard says. It's not a safe place to be. There's a lot of unsettled things in there. Things such as unrested souls populate the cemetery and asylum grounds, according to Beard, who says those who suffered the unspeakable at the hands of their fellow humans stir to this day in a sort of purgatory. Beard offers other advice. Respect the place, he urges. If you want to look around the grounds, go ahead, but please don't even attempt to go in the tunnels. Otherwise, you might get something on you that might not come off. And if you're thinking about taking a photo of the buildings, ask permission first, he says. If you ask out loud to take pictures of the buildings, I'm telling you, you will get an answer, he says. You will not believe how many things that appear in the windows. Let's see here. Let's see what Atlas Obscura says about it. As soon as it loads up, now I just gotta wait for the page to load up. Here we go. And then as soon as it loads up, an ad. Let's see. So Atlas Obscura. For over a century, it was a crucial center of mental health treatment and also the source of many local legends. Dramatic display came after a series of articles that exposed the conditions at the hospital, which housed hundreds of patients, including many who suffered from mental illnesses. The hospital had been established in 1900 when its first 100 incurable patients were admitted as a place for them to spend the rest of their lives. It was not until a couple of decades later that treatment was started, and by then the patient count had increased and also expanded to include restraint, electroshock therapy were used as was common in many other facilities at the time. After the introduction of drugs and some institutional reform, conditions improved, but some unfortunate incidents involving the safety of the community around the hospital took place sporadically over the next decades until it was closed down in 1999 and the patients were moved to a facility nearby. So it was closed down about 20 years ago. Some of the buildings are used by the local government for human services offices and the county workhouse. Holy crap, some of those buildings are part of the state hospital? Are they Anoka? Let's see here. A number of urban legends about the hospital have circulated over the years, especially about an underground tunnel that has been constructed to aid the transportation of patients between the buildings. Stories about patients trying to use the tunnel to escape, and even some about getting lost and committing suicide are local lore and have given rise to reports of supernatural activity on the premise. And it says no before you go. It says go during the day. Let's see if I can find any of these Anoka State Hospital lore. I'm just going to search that. First one is Anoka State Hospital's historical patients record on LibGuides. Preserving the history of the Anoka Asylum on Star Tribune. Anoka State Hospital Asylum Projects. Here we go. Let's see what this says. Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center is the current name of what was originally the first state asylum for the insane. So let's see, it was built in 1900. From 1900 to 1919, it was the first state asylum for the insane. From 1919 to 1937, it was Anoka State Asylum. And then from 1937 to 1985, it was Anoka State Hospital. And it says the first 100 patients arrived at the newly opened Anoka Asylum on March 1900. Traveled by train from St. Peter Hospital and were classified as incurables. 1906, 115 female patients from St. Peter. In 1909, it was decided that Anoka would only admit female transfer patients, and that the state hospital in Hastings would admit the male patients. However, construction of an additional building in 1925 allowed the hospital once again to admit male patients. As treatment of the mentally ill evolved, so did conditions and treatment at Anoka. Among the procedures performed in the 40s and 50s were lobotomies, some done at the U of M. I did not know that. In the 1950s, treatments included electroshock therapy and hydrotherapy. In 1948, then Governor Luther Youngdahl allowed a reporter and a photographer from the Minneapolis Tribune to tour the state's 7 hospitals, including Anoka. We've got images. There's a cemetery. An infirmary and a clinic are provided for physical health care of all residents at the hospital. Any previous programs, a treatment center for the mentally ill with tuberculosis, as well as programs for emotionally disturbed children and adolescents, have been discontinued. deinstitutionalization of the mentally ill started in the 60s. In the 1960s, also ushered in an era of change across the nation. At the Anoka Center, the number of patients dropped from 1,085 in 1960 down to 476 patients by 1970 as the state invested in community-based care. A shocking event occurred in 1976 when a patient escaped hospital grounds, broke into a nearby home, and killed the homeowner. I've heard that story before. At packed community meetings, there were demands ranging from better security at the hospital up to closing it. Compromises were reached that the hospital remained open. City police took over security in 1986. After the hospital was closed in 1999, the state gave the historic campus to Anoka County, which now uses several of the buildings to house Human Services Office and the county workhouse. Several of the older buildings are mothballed. Let's see what that means, because I'm not exactly sure what that means, although I have an idea. Stop using a piece of equipment or a building, but keep it in good condition so it can readily be used again. That's exactly what I was thinking. Current facility, Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center, is located to the original Anoka State Hospital campus. Large number of headstones were placed in the cemetery, which include the person's name. Hospital records indicate 400 people were buried in the cemetery from 1900 to 1965. In October 2008, the advocacy group Remembering with Dignity is the name of the group, and then the Anoka Metro Regional Treatment Center hosted a special service at the cemetery site. The project was completed in 2009, and each person has a proper marker and dignified place of rest. Which I think is actually very interesting, but I still haven't gotten to the actual legends of the Anoka State Hospital yet. I briefly covered them, but yeah, I do want to actually go here, but I want to be able to find out more about it before I go. Um, so, Minnesota's Most Haunted Anoka State Hospital by Carol Levin. Here we go. Hauntedplaces.org. Let's see what hauntedplaces.org says. I've visited this site before, but never really looked through it. Hauntedplaces.org. Anoka State Hospital. Here we go. Originally opened in 1900, It is said to be haunted by spirits of those who have died there over the years. Like many old mental health facilities, rumors abound of neglect and abuse. But add to that stories of underground tunnels through which patients tried to escape. Many patients are said to have escaped another way by hanging themselves on the premises. Witnesses say they've heard phantom footsteps, noises, whispers, and laughter, and felt cold spots within the building and the tunnels, which reportedly have been closed to all but maintenance workers and security guards. I want to go here. I mean, I really want to go here and check it out. Let's see what hauntedplaces.org says about Billy's Bar and Grill. It says Aberdeen, Washington, Anoka, Minnesota. There we go. Housed in a building that was once a former brothel, the restaurant is said to be home to the spirits of some of the former brothel's staff. As local legends go, either some brothel patrons killed Madame Mrs. Jackson and stole the woman's money, or Mrs. Jackson hanged herself from a third floor chandelier after losing the hotel. I've heard a lot of stories about her hanging herself after she lost the hotel. Witnesses say pictures move by themselves and apparitions have been seen upstairs. Um, Located in Anoka, Minnesota, Anoka County. Address is 214 Jackson Street. Nearest towns: Anoka, Champlin, West Coon Rapids, Ramsey, Andover, Osseo, Dayton, Coon Rapids, Brooklyn Park, and Ham Lake. Please note it is your responsibility to acquire appropriate permissions before investigating any location listed on this site. Private property should be respected at all times, as should all posted signs concerning trespassing, hours of operation, and other local regulations. Many ghost hunters have been arrested because they failed to contact property owners and or local authorities ahead of time. So, but doesn't really say a lot about Billy's Bar and Grill. So, next is the Wabasha Street Caves. Let's see what it says about the Wabasha Street Caves as soon as it loads up. Wabasha Street Caves are these are a series of caves that are located in St. Paul area of Minnesota. Search result. Wabasha Street Caves are sandstone underground caves available for tours. That one might be easier to get into. They are decorated with brick walls, stucco ceilings, and carpet or tile floors. Apparitions here include a man in a Panama hat. I've heard that rumor. Another man who meets a woman in the bar or area around 3 a.m. man who sits on the audience of a theater, a woman who appears to be searching for something, and various gangsters who are said to be very fond of children. I've heard stories about gangsters, but I didn't know about the gangsters being fond of children. One time, a little boy was found and photographed sitting happily at a table with several apparitions sitting around him. No pictures, no other information. So let's see what it says. Wabasha St. Paul Hauntings, hauntedhouses.com. Let's see here. The gangsters who mingled here in these public speakeasy clubs were basically well behaved. Mob business was carried out, resulting in mostly pleasant paranormal activity from the murdered mobsters. Castle Royale was a romantic place to have a great time of fun and relaxation. Spirits still do. Sandstone caves are located underground underneath a rather large plateau. Tom and I, apparently the I is the person who wrote the article. Tom and somebody else took the tour, which was a fascinating experience. While it was a warm June day in St. Paul, the caves were cool, requiring sweaters. Throughout the 12,000 square feet of these caves, one sees quote, tastefully finished, end quote, old, old decor with newer additions, creating an enhancing atmosphere with mysterious aura. Blah, blah, blah. See the full story. Located at 215 Wabasha Street South in St. Paul. 45-minute walking tour, Thursdays at 5 p.m., Saturdays at 11 a.m., Sundays at 11. Tickets go on sale 10 minutes before the tour start time. Just north of Cherokee Regional Park and residential housing. Not far from the east bank of the Mississippi River, just south of Platte Boulevard with Platte West and Platte Boulevard East. They're used and appreciated today by the people of St. Paul and surrounding suburbs. Seems to be the perfect place for a private dinner, play, dance, casino, murder, mystery, or theme party. Have been useful since 1840 in not only providing silica for the making of glass and becoming a handy place for food storage and aiding in the growing of delicious mushrooms, but becoming a place to put items washed up in floods and in providing entertainment haven for not only the upper class citizens of St. Paul, but also the members of the gangster class, made complete with banned 1920s to 1930s liquid refreshment. So it was used during the liquor ban in the 1900s. Let's see here. On at least one occasion, mob business was conducted here. It happened inside the fireside room, which is located as a side room just off of the main cave. Blah, blah, blah. Story goes that four gangsters were playing cards on a table in front of the fireside room's handsome stone fireplace, enjoying both the big band music and warmth from a fire. One well dressed but shady looking fellow, a big Louis type, who was carrying a case, talked to the band leader and asked him, "Say, could you quit early tonight? We have some unfinished business to take care of." Not wanting to disappoint, the band did indeed leave in a timely manner. After the crowds had left, there was just a closing witness, these four card players and a man with a case. She volunteered to stay behind and close up after the card game, so everyone else went home. While in the kitchen, the waitress heard the popping sounds of a Tommy gun. She ran to the fireplace room to find three gangsters on the floor shot to death by the man with the case. This hitman had fled with his partner, who had been playing cards with the now dead men. She immediately called the police, who asked her to stay outside. When the police came back outside after some time, they asked her why she had filed a false police report, threatening to bust her if she didn't recant her story. The police claimed they hadn't found anything amiss, not to be intimidated, room and showed them the bullet holes in the stone in the fireplace. While there weren't any bodies or blood, the bullet holes told the story. It is theorized that the three dead gangsters were dragged into one of the other caves and buried there, either by the two men who did the dastardly deed or the police themselves. Entities, manifestations here. It says there's an entity of a man wearing a Panama hat and is seen inside the caves. There's an entity of a man meets an entity of a woman in a bar area around 3 a.m. for a nightcap or a forbidden meeting. It says here, while rehearsing for a play to be presented on the main stage, the actors involved saw an entity of a man sitting in the audience watching them. And then there's an entity of a woman is seen wandering around the caves, perhaps looking for someone or something. Three entities of the gunned-down gangster card players still hang out, going about their business and enjoying the music and events which take place in the caves. One of them doesn't care for disco. During the 1970s disco era, the manager and an employee saw a full fleshed-out apparition of a man dressed in gangster attire walk toward them in the hallway. The scary-looking character with cold eyes and a hostile demeanor walked past them and disappeared into a wall, inspiring a hasty retreat by the living. While the owners in 2005 were cleaning in the caves, sprucing up the place, their young son was playing with a ball against the wall. The ball bounced into the men's room. The boy stopped to pick up the ball and noticed a man dressed in gangster attire straightening his tie. This entity turned and smiled and winked at the boy before disappearing. After a wedding celebration, a little boy told the wedding party that he had fun playing with those men. No one thought much about it until the bride and groom got their pictures back. One picture showed this little boy sitting at a table, happily smiling, surrounded by several apparitions portrayed by misty forms. Still haunted? A big yes is in order. So, I do think that is actually something that's, you know, very, very interesting. So, I just Yeah. I just feel like, the whole haunted stuff is could be true. I'm not saying it's is, and I'm not saying it's not. But I still find it interesting. So it's more or less just a matter of opinion. But I want to hear what you guys think. If you guys are watching this after the whole, you know, do you guys believe that a lot of stuff can be haunted like this? Do you think ghosts can stay and haunt after they're dead? I think that there's a good possibility. I mean, a very good possibility that stuff like this can happen. Let's see here. So that. I just wish that I knew for sure whether that kind of stuff actually happened with, definite proof. Regardless of whether it you think it happens or not, there's still a lot of stories out there about stuff like that happening. I think it's a good possibility that, stuff like this could happen, but I don't know. It's just more of I want to be able to, you know, experience the whole thing. So, I'm going to share this one more time with a few people on Messenger. Let's see here. Doesn't give me an option there, so I'm going to have to copy the link. Talking about haunted places that I might go visit. Blah blah blah. HTTPS. HTTPS:// YouTube dot youtube.be/hgnnvdsfsmk. Anyway, uh, so for those of you watching, what do you guys think? Do you think this kind of stuff actually happens, and that people do actually come back or actually haunt the living? Because in a way, I almost hope it's true, but at the same time, I don't know. Because if there are spirits, I want them to be at rest. If there are spirits out there and stuff, I want, I may want, the experiences and all that stuff, but to be honest, I honestly just don't know what to believe. Because, oh, hey, somebody joined while I was sharing. Welcome to the person that joined. If you have or love to hear from you, let me know what you think about all these haunted places and stuff. I've already talked about the Anoka Mental Hospital. I've talked about Bill. Both of those are in Anoka. Talking about the Wabasha Street Caves. All three of those places supposedly haunted. So I do want to hear from you and all that stuff. Give me ideas for stuff to talk about for that kind of stuff. Places I should go and check out at some point. And Yeah. Anyway. Oh, damn. Somebody clicked on and then clicked off right away. Yay. Don't know who it was. Wish it. Let's see here. Participants. Right now it only says me. Uh, so thank you to the person that watched for a few seconds left, but to that person, you missed out on a whole lot. I've been going for almost an hour and I've talked about 3 different places, all of which I want to film in, all of which I want to go to. That made me think of someplace else. I'm going to look it up and let's see here. I talked with this person about it in Messenger. Let's see, the game called Run Sausage Run. Blah, blah, blah. Leave me an offline. Leaving tomorrow. Here we go. Taylor Falls. Road trip to Taylor's Falls in Minnesota monthly. Wildwood RV Park and Campground. I just typed in Forest Taylor. I'm going to type in haunted. Haunted places in Taylor's Falls, Minnesota. Old Taylor's Falls. Southern building is reported as possibly one would imagine. There is plenty of ghostly activity here during the Prohibition area. I couldn't think of the name of it. During the Prohibition area, when the former funeral home was a haberdashery, there was a back room that opened into a tunnel leading into a bootlegger's spot. The tunnel is still in existence. Haunts report on the premises include a boy who shows up on floors 2 and 3 and a woman's apparition on floor 3. And it says Interstate State Park. Phantom lights are spotted every once in a while on the Wisconsin side of the river, always around the early morning and late afternoon hours. An apparition of a little girl has been seen multiple times running across the edge of the drop-off on the Minnesota side. Tourists have tried to stop the little girl from getting too close to the edge, but the apparition disappears when they get too close. The little girl's identity has yet to be identified. I've been here once. Interstate State Park. Don't really remember much from it, but I have been there. Then there's East Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Amory, Wisconsin, 16.4 miles away from Taylor's Falls. Cozy Corner Restaurant in New Richmond, Wisconsin. Mo Lutheran Church in Clear Lake. Warden's House Museum in Stillwater. Let's read what that one is. The Warden's House Museum, built in 1883, prison warden, is said to be haunted. Trudy, the daughter of Henry Wolfer, last warden to live here, got married and moved away right after she had uh, right after she had a son. She died appendictis, and her father raised the baby in the warden's house. Witnesses say there's an entity here of a woman with stomach pains who is looking for a baby. The sound of shoveling coal has also been heard in the basement. Lumber Barons, the Water Street Inn in Stillwater. Mataska Park in White Bear Lake. Rudy's Red Eye Grill and Hotel in White Bear Lake. Local legends claim that the wardrobe second level of the hotel is haunted by an unknown spirit that was cursed to the wardrobe a long time ago after it was made. Other reports claim seeing shadowy apparitions in the third and fourth hotel halls between 2:45 a.m. and 3:55 a.m. So yeah, I am. I'm just glad I have this many chances to go see haunted stuff in Minneapolis area. So as soon as I'm able to go there, I should have a few videos for you guys. Something other than live streams. Give me a thumbs up on the video if you want me to see any of these places. Leave me a comment letting me know where you think I should go. And yeah.